Good morning, folks. Jim Fuller from the Workbench, and today I got a special guest with me. This is Rob Young. Rob is from a law enforcement agency out in California.
Yep.
Our neighbor here. I became aware of Rob a couple of weeks ago. I posted a video regarding the school murders that happened down in Florida, and Rob chimed in and commented on that post, and I was shocked when I saw his comment. And Rob was actually injured in one of the first school shootings in 1989. He was in the first grade and he was shot twice. And when he told me his story, I figured people needed to hear it. So I'm really honored that Rob chose to come to us and do this, because he's got a real interesting story to tell you. And you know how I'm about been there, done that? He's been there, done that, probably more than anybody could in this situation. So Rob, how you doing this morning? What's up?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Looking forward to just doing this interview and talking and kind of sharing our heart with the people and with our viewers.
It is about heart.
Yeah.
No doubt. You know, this whole thing is pretty hot issue right now, and there's a lot of emotional speculation going on about the realities, and I kind of want to go through some of that stuff in this interview. But first off, why don't you just tell us about your injuries? How bad were you injured in that shooting?
So those of you who don't know, the Cleveland Elementary School shooting in Stockton, California, it happened in January of 1989, and I was in first grade at the time. And we were out at recess playing kickball and doing what kids do.
Yeah.
And it was a day that I was actually looking forward to, and get out there and play with my friends and just hang out and be a kid. Mm-hmm. And the gunman, we don't even say his name.
Good. Nobody should ever give him the press.
He was able to walk on our campus, and he had a 9mm handgun and a AK-47. And while we played, he snuck up and lit his car on fire. It drew some of the kids from the playground towards the fence line. He took a kneeling stance and began to shoot at us and shot several of us. That day, 29 kids were shot, 5 were killed. There was 4 girls and a boy that were killed. I was one of the students that was hit. And
you were shot twice, right?
I was shot twice. Yeah. I had a first round. I was running towards a handball wall that was in the middle of this playground, and really didn't know what was going on. I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time. I was 6.5 years old. I was in first grade.
Yeah.
And I heard the noises, but didn't really know what was going on. I was just panic and trying to get to my classroom, and I see this handball wall, and I'm like, I need to get towards that handball wall and hide. And
you had some common sense even as a first grader, didn't you?
Yeah.
Cover.
Yeah. And kids were dropping around me. In fact, the boy that was killed, he was about 10 feet from me when he went down. He was playing tetherball at the time. So I get about halfway to the wall, and my feet went above my head. That's because when I turned, I was looking for my buddy Scotty. I had a round travel through my foot. And when I hit the ground, another round hit the pavement directly in front of me. Thank God, because I think that's what saved my life, is hitting the pavement. And it broke apart and fragmented, and I had a pretty big piece that I still have actually in my chest now. It went right above my nipple line here.
Yeah, in that picture you showed me, you can see the injury on your foot. You can see the spot on your chest there. So they never even took it out then, huh?
No, and I'll get to that in a second. But I was able to get back up on my feet and couldn't run. I wasn't really in a whole lot of pain at the time. And I made it to the handball wall finally, and I get to the other side of the wall, and it's just a plywood, structure. And bullets started coming through the wall. And, I still wasn't comprehending what was happening. And I look up, and I was about 40, 50 yards from my classroom door. The door opened up towards the classroom, or towards the playground. And made my way towards my classroom still, gunfire going on. And I'm looking for my buddy Scotty. He's my best friend, and where's he at? And I look up and I see Scotty on the ground, and he's kind of reaching up and he's screaming. And I saw a yard duty or a teacher, I'm not sure who it was, but run by and pick him up and just hightail it towards our classroom door. So I was like, I got to get in there.
Scotty survived?
He did.
Good.
And we we got to the classroom, and the gunman's still shooting. I remember rounds coming through the wall. I remember there was like, drywall dust in our classroom, and bullets hitting our desks. We had a substitute teacher that day. She's screaming. She's telling us to get down.
I can imagine, yeah.
And it was very loud, very chaotic, but at the same time there was an eerie silence. They talk about tunnel vision. They talk about shock. The effects that it has on your body, and I was experiencing all that.
Sure.
And still didn't realize I was shot. Didn't understand what was going on yet.
Well, you're a first grade kid. That's probably the most foreign thing in your
Right.
world.
I'm at school. I'm supposed to be safe, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And about a minute goes by, and finally, we hear the last shot go off. And there's no cops around. There's no paramedics. There's nobody there. It's just us and a lot of blood. And I looked down at my shoe. You got to understand, I came from a pretty poor family. We didn't get new clothes a lot.
Yeah.
And the shooting happened in January, so Christmas had just passed, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt that I got from my aunt and brand new shoes, and I was proud of them. And I'm looking down, and I see a hole in both sides of my shoe, and there's blood coming out. And it pissed me off because my shoes ruined.
You just lost your shoes,
And I look at my chest, and I see blood on my chest, and I look over at Scotty, and Scotty's just sitting Indian style, huddled under our desk, and I look at Scotty, and he goes, I said, Scotty, look at my foot. He goes, Robbie, look at my leg. And he lifts up his pant leg, and he had a hole in his thigh, and it was probably about that big on the entry wound, but the exit wound was about like that, and it blew a hole completely through his thigh. And that's when he told me, he said, Robbie, I think we got shot.
Yeah.
What does that do to a little kid? You watch TV shows, you see movies, you get shot, you die,
Yeah.
And that's what I thought was going to happen. I thought I was going to die, and I started freaking out a little bit. And it seemed like forever. But the cops finally got there, and paramedics enter our room, and start sticking us with needles, and just trying to triage us and give us treatment.
Yeah.
I started attacking the paramedic. I bit the paramedic. Yeah, and
No, we often bite the hand that feeds us, don't we?
yeah, and it took my kindergarten teacher from the year prior. She came in, she grabbed my face, and she said, "You have to let them help you."
Yeah.
And that's what it took,
Yeah.
Mrs. Zancanella, rest her soul, man. But she was able to get my attention, and she said, "They're helping you, Rob."
Cool.
But I was pretty lucky. I was in the hospital 3 days. They talked about taking the bullet out of my chest, but the doctor said, no, he's been through enough. He's lost enough blood. We don't need to open him up. And, it's real close to his heart, real close to his lung, but he's safe. It's not going to go anywhere. The round that went through my foot, it didn't hit a bone.
That's what you told me about. That's amazing.
Yeah, so, if this was my foot, the bullet entered here and came out here. And didn't hit a bone.
Didn't hit a bone. That's amazing.
And they're thinking
you would have been walking funny for the rest of your life.
Yeah, they said if you were an adult, you'd have probably lost your foot. But their theory is that my bones were still very soft and pliable, and the pressure from the round entering
pushed it out of the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I truly believe it's God's hand.
Yeah. Divine intervention, no doubt.
Yeah.
Wow. Boy, that was hard to listen to. It really was. Man, I don't even know how to answer that, but glad you made it.
Thank you.
Let me say, next question, how do you think it affected you mentally? Did you notice any mental difference in yourself at that time afterwards? Did you have any kind of counseling or anything?
I did. I went through about 9 years of counseling. That first year was 2 to 3 times a week. We had this group of students that were hit. They called us the Breakfast Club because we'd come in.
That was pretty
the 80s, yeah, exactly.
What was going on at that time?
Yeah. But they had counselors on site for us, and then I went off site as well. Mm-hmm. Went every Tuesday morning for 9 or 10 years to the same counselor, and I definitely took advantage of that, and it helped. What it did though, what the shooting did was, it really robbed me of that innocence. Kids think they're invincible. Yeah. Right? And I realized real quick that life is fragile, be taken from you at any moment. And I really learned to appreciate life after that.
Wow, I don't doubt it.
My dad was real worried about me, how it was going to affect me psychologically. But he said he knew that I was going to be okay because I was off school for about a month. And he said he goes, I knew you're going to be okay when you're outside playing with your friends and you guys are playing Army Men and you had your crutches and you're using it as a machine gun and shooting buddies, And he said,
oh yeah, kicked out of school today.
yeah, right, threat assessments and everything else, right?
Yeah.
But he said, I knew that you were going to be fine, when I saw that. And he said it actually did him some good to know that, I wasn't going to be some, messed up little kid because of it.
Yeah. You're a strong man.
Thank you.
You were obviously a strong kid too. Your parents probably had a little bit to do with that too, I gotta think.
Yeah, a real good dad.
It sounds like you did.
Still do have a good dad.
Good. That's good. Wow. Okay. Well, man, this is just amazing. Trying to even think of what's the best thing to ask you here. I don't know, I guess probably the next thing is, at what point did you decide to become a law enforcement officer, and what was there? Did this have any kind of decision in that decision?
It absolutely did. I don't come from a family of law enforcement. Actually, quite the opposite. Mm-hmm. I kind of fell far from the tree. It's not like I went into the family business.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to be a cop. I don't know. You call it a calling, I guess. Something I was called to do, and it's something I've always known that I was going to be. My dad says he remembers me being a 3-year-old kid saying, "Dad, I'm going to be a police officer when I'm grown up." And the shooting definitely played a part in that because I remember how safe I felt once the cops were there.
Sure. Yeah.
And it strengthened that desire to want to go into law enforcement and be that good guy and be that guardian. And I've taken my job very serious. So I had an opportunity to test for the police academy when I was 20 years old, and I was able to test. I took the last test of the year and got in. I got the last seat in the class.
Wow, nice.
And
it was meant to be.
Yeah, and that was in 2002, and got in. We started 74 recruits, and we graduated 34 9.5 months later.
Nice.
And
you made the cut.
I made the cut, and so I was hired with the school district police in Stockton when I was 21. I went back and actually got to serve in that role.
Holy crap. So you went back for that?
I went back.
Wow, yeah. You were actually. Oh man.
And we patrol that. That district's pretty big. It's about 65 square miles, and we have about 55 schools and other office buildings and district property that we have jurisdiction over. But to be able to go back and give back to that district where I grew up and where the shooting happened.
That's amazing, man. So it really is. Wow. I can't imagine. Well, now I know that you started out with school police, but then you went to regular police as well, right?
Yeah, I worked for the city of Union City, which is in the Bay Area near Oakland. Mm-hmm. It was actually right in between Hayward and Fremont in the East Bay. I decided in 2007, I needed a little bit more money and kind of want to stretch my wings a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I decided to commute, and at the time, I had a wife who was a stay-at-home mom, and, I was putting food on the table, and the opportunity came, and it was a lot more money at the time. And, mm-hmm. I was able to almost double my income that first year, which was nice. Yeah, but it took a toll. I was commuting probably about 4 to 5 hours a day back and forth to work, and, it got to be too much. And I needed to be closer to my kids. My wife and we separated and went through a divorce and the whole thing. And yeah, it is what it is, but I needed to be closer to my kids. My kids were getting older, and I was able to actually come back in 2016 to the department where I started, and I was able to come back as a sergeant.
Oh, so you went back into school districts though?
I did.
So you left the standard police to go back.
Yeah.
That's quite a statement, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
And even when I worked for the city, I still focused a lot of my time on campus safety. One of my lieutenants, I'm really thankful, he came and shoulder tapped me one day. He said, you have a good story. He said, how would you feel about becoming a school resource officer here for us? And I was able to work in the schools there for about 2 years, and had several collateral duty assignments, including, I was a hostage negotiator, crime scene investigator, mm-hmm. And what I really enjoyed was they sent me to active shooter response instructor school.
That must have been right up your alley, I bet. Huh?
Yeah, so I jumped all over it, and that's really been my bread and butter. It's been my my specialty ever since. And even before I actually got in as a certified instructor, that was my passion. And, I really paid attention during the active shooter drills and, because I lived through it, it's part of who I am and part of my story. And I said, what better way to give back than, really be able to teach first responders and school officials and, how to respond to these things, because it's becoming more and more prevalent. Up until Columbine, I think Cleveland School was, that was really it, when it came to school shootings. I mean, we had them.
I know there's been a lot of things over the years, but now that you mention it, I don't believe after that shooting, I don't remember another one like that for a long time.
Yeah.
So you're probably right. It's not like those are not the kind of things I want to remember.
Yeah. So I spend a lot of my time now even focusing on that, and we have big county exercises, multi-agency response, because it's going to take everybody if something like that were to happen. And I'm able to give back, and teach that to
give
police
back.
officers.
So many people do not understand what that is. Good on you for knowing it. Wow. Well, this is a big one for me. It's pretty controversial, but we got to ask this question. You're a professional, and I think you speak from a place that almost nobody could probably speak from. And so, what do you think, realistically? Now, I'm a pretty pro-gun guy, so don't try to just, don't try to say something I want to hear. Tell me what you think of all the things that we hear people talking about. Arming teachers, hiring extra security, and more police. There's all these different things that people talk about. Maybe FBI do their job. I'm sorry, but. Hey man, it's all out there and it's all part of it. But from your standpoint as a professional law enforcement guy, what is in your mind probably one of the best choices that we could take to increase school security and protect the kids?
Yeah. So I have some pretty strong opinions about that, and you have to understand that this is Rob Young talking as a professional. This is Rob Young, who happens to be a police officer in California. This isn't, I'm not using my title. This isn't necessarily the stance of the district.
We don't want to cause that, and we understand the politics.
This is a guy that is speaking from his heart, who is kind of, he's been through it as a victim, and as an officer. We get to that in a moment too.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah.
I'm able to kind of speak on it from both ends, and as an active shooter response instructor, right?
You know what? Wait a minute. You actually were involved in an active shooter response, right?
I was.
Tell us about that before, and then let's get back to this other one. So I forgot about that.
So in 2013, I was working in the Bay Area still, and working patrol. I was actually recovering a stolen vehicle that had been abandoned, and I'm waiting for the tow truck, and I'm talking to my buddy, who's a police officer, who's my beat partner, and we're sitting there just talking. We're talking about his Marine Corps days, and all of a sudden we start hearing gunshots, close. And what it was there was a guy. I was walking down the street about 5 blocks from us, and he was deranged, he was upset, mad at the world, homicidal, suicidal, you name it, this guy was it. And he was walking down the street with a machete in one hand and a 45 in the other, and he was popping off rounds at passing motorists and pedestrians, people walking their dog or getting shot at, and we heard these shots, and I go to grab my radio to advise dispatch, and I knew I had units in the area because they had just cleared the call from where this stolen vehicle was left, right? And we knew who the suspect was, so we were looking for him. So we had plenty of units in the area. And just as I go to grab the radio, the tone alert goes off. And when you work in law enforcement, you hear that tone alert, that boop, it's listen up.
Yeah.
So tone alert goes off, and dispatch, is getting several 911 calls of a gunman. And it came out as a gunman with a long gun at first, and what it was somebody saw the machete and heard the shots. But it ended up being a pistol. And
probably thought it was an AR-15.
Yeah. So I said, screw the car. Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Such a scary gun, right? So we left the car, screw the car, right?
Yeah.
In my mind, people are dying.
Yeah.
We need to get in there.
Priorities, man.
Yeah. So we start hightailing it over there, and I'm thinking about my response, and at the time I was wearing a thigh holster, and I scoot the pistol up on the top of my thigh. I took my AR out of the rack, I chambered it around, I put it muzzle down in the passenger seat, floorboard, and I don't know where this guy's at. I know I'm real close.
Yeah.
And here I am, this big moving target in a vehicle that looks like an Orca with this big, flashing light on top and a siren, and You know, I don't want to be a sitting duck, and I don't know where this guy's at, and I can see people hiding and they're pointing and all this, and so I just end up pulling over, and I'm like, you know, I'm better on foot. At least I can, you know, kind of make my way up, find some cover if this guy tries to ambush us. You know, like I said, I was with the Marines, so he knew what he was doing too. And so,
yeah, I get that.
yeah. And so we start making our way up, and I have my rifle, and another unit is coming towards us, and he ends up making a left-hand turn, and I hear him over the radio say, I got eyes on the gunman. So I knew he was about a block away from me. So I take off running, I round the corner, and I see the guy standing on the street corner. And there was a patrol car parked out in the middle of the road, and there's one of our corporals, and he had him at gunpoint. And the guy now is, you know, has the machete pointed down, has the gun pointed down. And I run up and I take cover, and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, this is so crazy because this guy can just start shooting at me at any moment, you know, and I'm running towards him. This is insane.
That's what good men do.
It's my job, right? So I signed up for. And you know, I'm looking at the shells in the middle of the street, and I don't care what you say, man. When you see 45, you know, auto shells in the middle of the road, it looks like artillery, you know.
Yeah.
And so I take cover. And, I remember having them in my sights. You know, we had EOTechs on our rifles, and I knew I had them dead to rights. And we get about 7 officers on scene, and one of our gals that was working for us, she was actually had you know, some dialogue with the guy, and she's telling him to put it down, put it down. He's not putting it down, and I wasn't going to wait for him to go like this and just start shooting. That's all it's going to take. So I yelled out. I said, hey, I'm going to take the shot. He's not dropping it. And the corporal that was standing above me, you know, he said, hey, Rob has the shot, guys. And just as I was about to squeeze the trigger, I remember even mouthing the words, I don't want to be here.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
And he decided that he was going to raise on us, and he raised the gun, and 6 of us opened fire on him.
And it's all over.
It was done. And, you know, very scary. Yeah. Luckily, no innocent people were hit. You know, there's a lot of people that were shaken up. There's people hiding in their bathtubs, and you know, this guy's just on a rampage. And you know, we ended his life. I mean, it's a decision. Yeah, I'd make 100 times over if I had to. It's not something I ever want to live through again. But
sure,
you know, we did what we had to do.
Nobody really wants to do that.
No,
it's something we do because we have to.
Yeah,
and you know, everybody understands that. It's all about, you know, saving the good side of things.
Yeah,
get that. Man, what an experience. You know, so, well, you know, honestly, you know, I mean, back to your other question though about the security in schools. I mean, you obviously have a pretty good handle on the violence of an active shooter. I don't know how anybody could have more experience with it than you have.
Yeah.
You know? So you tell me in your mind, what do you think is the best answer? Or multiple things, you know, I mean, realistically, you know, from a professional standpoint.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, I've thought about this over the years. This isn't just an emotional response. This is something I've actually thought through. And, you know, I asked myself, what is the best option? You know, you really have to ask yourself whether you're for guns or against guns, people arming them, you know, arming themselves, being able to protect themselves. You really have to say, you know, what's important. And the importance of the schools is our students and our staff and their safety.
By far.
And you know, we protect banks and jewelry stores and politicians and dignitaries with guys with guns. Why? Because the gun is the only equalizer.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's going to stop a bad guy with the gun is a good guy with the gun.
Yep. Yep.
And you know, seconds matter. And I know, you know, being a police officer now for 14 and a half years, I know, you know, even if we're Johnny on the spot, our response time to where we get on campus, we actually find the shooter, you're talking a minute, 2 minutes, 3, 4 minutes. That's a long time. My shooting alone at Cleveland School, it was over in a minute and a half, and 29 students were shot. 5 were killed, the gunman was dead as the policeman arrived. There's not a gun law on the books that's gonna keep somebody from being able to walk onto campus with a firearm. I ask teachers this all the time. I say, do you own guns at the house? And I get yes, no, whatever. Okay, let's just say hypothetically you own a firearm. Lawfully, you own a firearm, and you end up having a bad day, and you lose your mind, and you grab that gun, and you decide, I'm going to stick it in my briefcase, I'm going to stick it in my waistband, and you go to work. What gun law is going to stop that from happening?
None.
None.
Yeah.
Right? So what's going to be able to stop somebody from doing that is another person with a gun. So it's not just about arming teachers. It's about having the protection there. You know,
of course.
I know there are teachers there that probably have no business having a firearm, but there's plenty of teachers, janitors, school administrators, counselors,
Yeah.
support staff that have been through the military, that have worked in law enforcement, that have grew up around firearms, whether it's hunting or recreation. I would trust these guys with the gun.
Or most importantly, they have the inner fortitude to go towards the problem instead of away from it.
Absolutely.
That's a big difference right there.
Absolutely. And the other day I was having a discussion with a teacher who asked me that same question. And I said, what's more important, what's the most important thing for you when you're there during an incident like that? She said, protecting students. Mm-hmm. So that's a good answer. I like that answer. And you're the right person for the job for having that answer. And I said, would you rather go like this, no, get away, or get back and have a fighting chance?
Yeah. That's not a hard choice to make.
The harsh reality that we have to understand is when somebody decides to flip that switch and go and harm people, they're going to get pretty far in doing so. Yeah. Hopefully we can stop them before it happens. Yeah. But we may not, and people are going to die. People are going to get hurt. 17 people were killed in Florida. Yeah. 16 would have been better. 16's too many, but it would have been better than 17.
No doubt.
And if we can save one person, that's worth it.
Yeah, I've heard that line before from people who don't live in reality. Yeah. But this is reality. Yeah. Like you said, the response time. Now whether you have school police, assigned to a duty. Do you think that I don't know what the standard is. They have 2 people on duty at a time, 4 people on duty. I don't know if there's a standard or if there is anything like that. I'm not a law enforcement guy. So.
Yeah, I think it's unrealistic to think that we can have a police officer on every single campus. Mm-hmm. That'd be great in a perfect world. Mm-hmm. That'd be great. But even then, I worked on a campus in the Bay Area that was 64.5 acres. I was the only cop on campus. Wow. Do you think my response time is going to be 5-10 seconds at any given moment? No, it's not. And you got to understand these guys. We take breaks. We're human, right? A lot of times we work 10, 12-hour shifts. We're going to go get coffee. We're going to go down to the store. There's going to be other calls for service where they're going to need. Let's face it. Our police departments most of the time are understaffed. Mm-hmm. Whether they're a small department or a big department, there's not enough help. And I know as a school resource officer, I've been called, off to go handle other calls and back up patrol on a domestic violence call or a robbery in progress. Well, I'm close. I'm going to go, but that leaves the campus vulnerable. Yeah. And even if I was on campus there, if somebody were to bring a gun on campus and open fire, we can all pray and hope that I'm right there. I would hope that there's somebody else that's there that can kind of hold the fort down until the cops get there. Let us do our job once we get there, but you might need to hold it down for a minute or two.
Well, I've met a few teachers over the years that I feel, I've trained a lot of people how to shoot a gun, and I've met a few teachers over the years that I feel that could handle the situation. Maybe not as well as a high-trained team guy or a special forces dude, right, or a SWAT team or something like that. But like you said, your thing is pretty. Do you want the guy to say, "Stay away from these children"? Or you want to say, "Stay away from these children"?
Yeah.
That's a serious point right there, dude. Man, I debate this stuff all the time, and I really don't know what the best answer is. But that's why I wanted to talk to you, to really hear what you thought about it, because I don't know how anybody could have more realistic of this opinion of this situation than you do. And man, it's just so you think that the arming of the teachers is probably a good thing on selective levels?
Absolutely. Okay. I think that the people, they need to be vetted. Obviously, they
Sure.
need to be trained. I'm not saying just because you become a teacher, we're going to hand you a pistol and say, here you go.
Too many of them would not be fit for that.
Absolutely. And I don't want you making my job even harder because now you're a victim or exactly. I don't want that. I want these people that are able to, keep a sound mind. Mm-hmm. I know for a fact, there were football coaches and teachers and stuff that were shot and killed in these shootings.
Protecting the kids.
Yeah. Like you said, sucking up bullets.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Well, I put out a video about this, and I was a little heated when I did. Because I'm a big proponent of whatever security we can put in there.
Absolutely.
I'd like to, not that there's nothing wrong with police security, but like you said, how realistic is for a police department to put 2 or 3 guys on every campus?
Yeah. And there's districts around, there was a video I watched, school in Indiana that's doing it right. They put these smoke canisters in the hallways, and there's live video feed that's directly connected to the sheriff's office dispatch, and they got the doors that are bullet resistant, and they painted these red lines, in the classroom. If you're behind this red line, if somebody's standing at the door, they can't see you.
Smart stuff.
And our district's doing a really good job at doing that. We're starting to fortify a lot more than we used to. you know, a lot of districts are really stepping up to the plate, and I commend them for doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there should be one way in and one way out, you know, with some emergency exits, obviously.
Well,
but
like you said, we protect our money, we protect our jewelry. They even protect weed,
Yeah.
you know. But
And we
why can't we protect our kids?
Right. Well, we do protect them with the gun-free zone sign.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the gun-free killing zone sign. God, don't get me started on that one, Rob.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. Man, I don't know what to say. This is like, you know, folks, we kind of set up some questions ahead of time for this that we thought would be appropriate to ask, and I purposely told Rob not to answer any of these questions until we did this video, because I didn't really want to know everything he'd been through. And dude, I'm amazed. You know, I'm kind of awestruck right now. I don't even really know what to say to you other than God bless you, man.
Thank you.
You know, fuck, that's excuse my language, folks.
It's emotion. It's raw emotion.
Yeah. Well, I'm known for that, but dude.
You know, if we could just spark some thought into some people, that's my goal.
Yep.
That's my ultimate goal. Is really let's take a look at really what needs to happen. What is the enemy? You know, what is it? It's the mindset. It's the individual. It's not the tool. These are tools, man. These
Yeah, we have a lot of
guns.
them out here.
Yeah, the guns that you're building, they're tools. Yeah. And you know, firearms they save lives. They do. They save lives. That's why I carry.
I just don't want to talk about that.
No, I mean, you know, I don't carry
I mean,
when
you
I'm
got
off
off the plane.
duty.
What's the first thing I did?
You hand me a Glock. Thank you. I love
It's
you.
supposed to be that way.
You know, and it's so hard for me, even as a police officer, to be able to fly with that weapon because it's scary, right?
Yeah,
What am I
that's
gonna
crazy.
do?
You know, that really is. But you know, I mean, that's kind of the society we have now. It's, you know, we've you know, at my age, I've seen a lot of change that I don't like. You and I had that conversation this morning. We were eating breakfast, but this is just amazing to hear your take on this stuff. It really is, and I'm probably gonna have a bunch more questions that I wish I could have put in this video. Maybe we have to do another one sometime.
Hey,
let me just ask, what are your? I mean, you got what, 14 years in now?
14 and a half, yeah.
Yeah. So what's your retirement point? 20, 25?
I can retire when I'm 50.
50. Oh, so you're
Yeah.
gonna put all that time in?
I'm gonna try. We'll see, man. I'm you know, I'll take it as high as I can take it, and you know, go as long as I can go. I mean, it's been hard on my body. You know, I've had some injuries, and you know, I have 15 years left, man, minimally. You know, and we'll see. You know, I'm open for it. I hope I can make it to the end, but you know, I'm also open for some opportunities. You know, if they arise, and you know, I don't know what's gonna happen here in the next year, 2 years. I mean, I'm open. You know.
Well, I know you have a couple of kids.
Yeah.
Your kids are what, like 11 and 12, I think you said?
Yeah, my son Christian, he's 12, and my daughter Allie is 11. They're 15 months apart. They're amazing kids, best kids around.
You got an amazing dad too. That's probably why you're such amazing kids.
Love you guys.
So, well, you know, Rob, I'm sorry, man. I'm seriously overwhelmed by this, man. I just had no idea what you were going to have to say about this stuff, and I can't thank you enough for coming and doing this. You know, and folks, I hope you really enjoy what Rob has to say here. If you stop and think about what must go through your mind when you've been through the kind of things that he's seen and done, and then, and I know, you know, I'm personally kind of honored because I know he turned down a bunch of media outlets lately for interviews because you kind of know what the media is like on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think he felt like he could tell his story a little bit better with us because we would just let him tell his story and not try to color it. But I think I agree with you about 110% too, if that's possible, 100, 200%. But, wow. Rob, thanks, brother.
Thank you.
I can't thank you
Thanks
enough.
for having
man.
me.
Keep the good work up, and man, you're an icon and an inspiration to many.
Yeah.
You know,
there's a lot of people out there, not just me, that have a voice. And if you're out there listening to this, you know, and you're thinking of ways to get involved, you know, or that your voice doesn't matter, that's the wrong mindset to have. Get involved, you know, support your pro-gun, you know, organizations, whether it be NRA, Gun Owners of America, Gun Owners of California is a big, you know, big for me. And, you know,
and even
get,
if you don't,
get
at least
involved.
seek for the truth.
Seek for the truth. Really just, you know, think outside the box sometimes, you know. We really got to figure this out. Yeah. We really do.
Yeah, we can't have any more kids dying.
No,
that's just not acceptable anymore. And we're going to do everything we can. You know,
Yeah.
you know, we've always been really big on trying to, you know, keep this country in a traditional mindset where things used to be good. And with guys like you, we can continue to do so.
Yeah.
And, but you know, Man, I could go on talking to you for hours. I know we got a whole weekend to hang out. We're going to go to the range in a little while.
Yeah,
We'll have some more video from the range later, guys, because we got the hard part done. We're just going to go have some fun for the rest of the weekend. Rob's out here to visit till Monday. You're going home Monday night.
Monday evening.
So we're just going to hang out and do guy gun stuff for a while, folks. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed listening to Rob. I'm really happy that he could come out and do this with us. And you never know. You may be back again, right, Rob?
Oh, I'm going to be back.
All right.
Yeah, you're not going to get rid of me that easy.
Cool, man. Well, thank you once again for coming. And folks, thanks a lot for watching the Workbench. We're glad to have you here, and we hope you enjoyed the show with Rob.